Who that nation? That was not a good showing last week. In a game where a lot of people, including myself, thought the Saints had the upper advantage, it was the absolute opposite of that, and the Saints not show up against a banged up Falcons team. And I got to break down what went wrong in that game, as the Saints took a loss at home in New Orleans against a banged up Falcons team. And I'll break down their next game as they go on the road to face the Dolphins in Week 13. This is the Saints Roundtable. Stick and stay. All right, so let's break it down. So the Falcons came into New Orleans banged up with the backup quarterback, Kirk Cousins, no Drake London, and they got a big win on the road in New Orleans. And the defense did not play the best, and the offense was an absolute no-show. But I got to break down the defense. This was not a great showing for them. The Falcons were undermanned, as I said. They were missing the number one receiver and Drake London. And Kyle Pitts didn't do a whole lot, so that was one key that I broke down last week that was a key in terms of shutting him down. And they kept him relatively quiet. But the number one guy I told you that they had to stop last week was Bijan Robinson, and they did not do that. Bijan Robinson took over on the ground and in the passing game. He had 14 carries for 74 rush yards, 2 receptions for 37 receiving yards for a total of 111 yards. And yeah, he was getting out there in space, and he was giving the Saints defense a lot of problems. He was running it in between the tackles, whether he was getting out in space as a receiver and beating the linebackers and getting into the secondary and breaking so many tackles. Yeah, he just was able to get going, and it was really tough for the Saints defense to contain him, and he made him pay, man, and kudos to him. But when he's the number one guy, he got to stop, and there's no number one receiver out there. I did not like the game plan from Brandon Staley. I thought he had to put more guys in the box to stop the run, but he didn't do that. He was protecting the pass more, and Bijan Robinson made him pay for it. And yeah, I think that was not a good defensive scheme from the Saints defensive coaching staff. And they did like Kyle Pitts, as I said, but they had another guy beat them, and it was Darnell Mooney. He really showed up. He had 3 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. And the Saints secondary did not play the best against him. He was able to get open and get some big catches on them. And yeah, he was able to do his thing, and kudos to Darnell Mooney. But you expect more out of the Saints secondary against an undermanned team and on the outside. And they really gave it to him, so you have to give them credit there. And another guy who really didn't do a whole lot in terms of yardage, but David Sills, 2 receptions for 16 yards, and he had the other touchdown for the Falcons. And yeah, credit to Kirk Cousins, man. Kirk Cousins, he was not great, but he played good enough, and he was able to spread the football around, find some receivers that are open. He wasn't just zeroed in on one guy. Running game helped him a lot, and he was able to do some play action. And yeah, Kirk Cousins, man, he was just playing steady Eddie, and he did his thing. And he was 16 for 23 on his completions, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, had an interception, had a fumble. You know, he's not the same guy, but he had a 107 rating, and he still played pretty well despite those 2 turnovers. But he's a wily veteran, and he knows how to make the key plays in the key spots, and he doesn't have to force things too much, and he was able to do that in this game. So credit to him, and yeah, you expect a lot better from the Saints defense, especially coming off a tough performance in the week before, and yeah, it was just not a great showing from the Saints defense as a whole, and you expect a whole lot better going against the Dolphins going into this next game. And you would think that Brandon Staley should be able to get back in the lab and put a good game plan out there for the next game, especially learning from what happened to him in this game. So yeah, Saints defense has to be better. Got to get more pressure on the quarterback. Got to stop that run. You do that, and there's good things to come going forward for the Saints defense. Coming up, I'll break down the Saints offense, which was even worse of a no-show. And yeah, Tyler Shuck and the guys did not show up, and I'll break that down. This is the Saints Roundtable. Stick and stay. All right, let's go to the offense now, or should I say lack of offense now, and the Saints offense. It was nowhere to be found. Defense of the Falcons really gave it to them, and yeah, they were just never able to get going the entire game, and it was not a good showing from the Saints offense. And yeah, the offense just wasn't there. They could not run the football at all. They had 79 rush yards as a team. They were not able to control line of scrimmage, and yeah, the Saints offense was just not there. Alvin Kamara did get nicked up in this game, and he's going to be out for the game Sunday against the Dolphins. So that was a big loss. So Devin Neal and Kendra Miller had to carry the load, and they just weren't able to do enough to get the ground game going. So it put a lot more pressure on Tyler Shuck, and Tyler Shuck had one of his worst games of his young season so far. He was 30 for 43 on his completions, 243 yards. So the yardage was pretty good. You have to give him that. But he did have an interception and had 0 touchdowns and was 0 for 3 in the red zone with a 74.1 rating. And yeah, he was just not able to punch those key tickets in the red zone. That's the key to being a quarterback. You can put up all the yards and you can do a lot of things, but if you can't convert in the red zone, you're not going to be successful in this league. And Tyler Shuck was just not able to do that. Yeah, he was 0 for 3. The credit to the Saints defensive coaching staff. They were able to do some key plays and keep him out of the end zone, and they were able to lock down in the red zone and keep him out of the end zone. And he was just not able to hit his checkdowns and not able to punch the ball in. And yeah, you think that he has the confidence now because the playbook was way more open for him. He's been playing a lot better the last couple of weeks. And yeah, but the Falcons defensive coaching staff, they did their homework and they saw his weaknesses and they tightened things down. And AJ Terrell and the guys in the secondary in Atlanta were able to be a part of that game plan and learn that game plan. And they did their homework and they did a good job of locking guys down, and they shut things down. So kudos to them. Chris Olave, he's still doing this thing, man. Credit to him. Ever since Rashica he got traded, and ever since Brandon Cooks got released, he's the number one receiver by far on this team, and he's the number one target on this team, and he's doing his thing. He's really been playing well the last couple of weeks. And he had 9 receptions for 70 yards. He couldn't get that key reception to score points, as I said, but he's been very, very good, and you got to give him a lot of kudos, man. Like good for him, and he's definitely earning the right to possibly get an extension on his contract. And the issue with him was that he has a lot of concussion issues, a lot of injury issues, but he's been healthy so far this year, and knock on wood, he can keep doing that. And yeah, if he does, then I think you got to give him the bag and you got to pay him, because either if it's Tyler Shuck or a new rookie quarterback coming in next year, you got to have a number one weapon to throw to, and that could be Chris Olave with the way he's playing right now. So good for him, and they just didn't do enough, but he's doing his thing. So the Saints, they got to be a lot better on offense. I know that coming into this season, that was their biggest issue, was scoring points. The defense was expected to be a lot better, and they have had their moments this year on the defensive end. But for Kellen Moore, being his first year as a head coach and his first year as the OC, calling plays for the Saints, he expected a lot more from this offense. And there's been bright spots, very little bright spots, but there's been bright spots with Tyler Shuck, but this was by far his worst performance. and overall just a really bad performance by the Saints offense as a whole, and especially coming at home. It's one thing if you do it on the road, it's tough because you're playing against the opposing crowd, and all that. But to do it at home, that is not a good showing, and the Saints fans were very very upset, in the crowd and even at home as myself, but especially there, they were not happy with the way that the Saints were moving the football or not moving the football, but yeah, it's a work in progress, and this is going to be an ongoing issue for the Saints going on this year, and this is why the Saints are not a successful football team because ever since Drew Brees left, they just haven't had that guy under center at quarterback to really control things, and we're hoping it's Tyler Shuck. If not, then we're gonna have to go shopping and get a quarterback in the draft or in the offseason by trade or whatever it takes, because whatever it's going to take, because we need a quarterback that we can trust going forward for years to come with this rebuilding Saints team and offense. So we'll see how it goes, but it's a new week. They're playing Miami next, and they have a tough defense, but there's a chance that Saints offense can be a lot better coming into next week. And I'll break down that game against the Dolphins as the Saints go into Miami for Week 13. This is the Saints Roundtable. Stick and stay. Okay, let's break down the Week 13 matchup. The Saints are going into Miami against the Dolphins on Fox, and this should be a pretty good one as the Saints play a pretty good Dolphins team that's been really playing better lately. Record-wise, they're not great, but they've picked it up last couple of weeks. They started to figure things out on offense. Defense is starting to play a lot better, and it's going to be a tough test for the Saints coming off a bad performance against a beat-up Falcons team. And they're playing a more healthier team against the Dolphins, but there's a chance that the Saints can play a lot better going into this game. And this is gonna be an interesting one because the Dolphins they haven't lived up to expectation, but as I said, they're playing a lot better recently, and this is something that the Dolphins fans were hoping for the whole season. Tua has stayed healthy so far, and he's playing a lot better last couple of weeks. And Mike McDaniel, although he's gotten a lot of scrutiny for his leadership, which is something I've talked about as well. He has a lack of leadership, and he's not a leader of men. But the guy is a very good offensive mind, and the last couple of weeks they figured it out, and the offense is starting to really pick things up. But on the defensive end, they've really done their thing too. They're starting to really play good on defense, so it's a good test for the Saints going on the road for Week 13. And the one guy got to stop, of course, is Tua Tagovailoa. As I said, he kind of had a slow start to this season, but last couple of weeks he's starting to really play better. And coming out of Alabama, that was his MO, was that he's a very good precision passer. He's really good at making completions. He's left-handed, but plays like a right-handed quarterback. He's very good when he's getting the ball out quick. He's very effective. And the issue, of course, with him is that he has an issue of staying healthy, and he's a little frail for his size as a quarterback. So the key for the Saints is that you need to pressure him and make him move, because if you make him move and get him scared back there, a little rattled back there, he can start to struggle a bit. So I think that Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan, those guys, got to blitz a lot and bring the pressure and get him off his spots. And if they can do that, then I think Tua will frail a little bit, and it'll be a tough time for him to get going on offense. So Brandon Staley, I would think, will bring more pressure and blitz him a lot and do the best you can to get him off his spot. You do that, then Tua should have a tough time against the Saints defense. And of course, Jalen Waddle, very good receiver. Tyreek Hill is the number one receiver when healthy on that team. But ever since he got hurt, Jalen Waddle's taken on more of a bigger load as number one receiver, and he's played very well. So Cooley McKinstry and the guys in the secondary really need to step up and do their best to stop him. But the guy, I think, number one guy, position-wise, you got to stop is Devon Achane. Devon Achane has been very, very good this season for them. He's similar to Bijan Robinson and we saw what happened with Bijan Robinson last week. He absolutely torched the Saints defense. And yeah, Devon A-Chain is the same guy. He can rush it. He can catch the ball and be received out of the backfield, and he's very electric in space. So the Saints defense needs to pick it up and stop a guy like this, because if they don't do that, and it's going to be a similar aspect to what Bijan Robinson did. He's very, very good in space. He's quick. I wouldn't say he's a very very physical runner, but if he can break some tackles, man. And if he can break some tackles, then it's good night Irene, because he's gonna get going. He can move, man. So the key for the Saints is keep him in one spot. Do not let him get out there in space, because if he does, then it's gonna be a tough night or a tough day for the Saints defense as a whole, stopping him. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. Mike McDaniel's a very good offensive mind, as I said, and he's gonna have some schemes out there and a lot of trick plays that are gonna keep the Saints on their heels. So Brandon Staley and the Saints defensive coaching staff really needs to step things up and have a whole lot better game plan going into this game against a suddenly good offense in Miami. So we'll see how it goes, and I'll break down the offense for the Saints and what they got to do better going into this game on the road. This is the Saints Roundtable. Stick and stay. All right, let's close out the show with the Saints offense going into Miami in Week 13. And yeah, as we saw in the last game, they were absolute no-show. Tyler Shough had one of his worst games. They could not run the football, and they got to be a lot better going into this game on the road in Miami. And yeah, I think the one thing for the key for this game on the offensive end is they got to run the football a lot better. They were not good running the football against the Falcons. 79 rush yards as a team, that's not going to work against anybody. It don't matter who you are. You cannot have the quarterback throwing the football that many times and not help him out in the running game, because even if it's Tyler Shough, even if it's Patrick Mahomes or whatever quarterback out there, if you can help him running the football, then it's going to be very, very tough for him to get going, because the defense knows that they're not going to run in, and they're going to be throwing it every single time. And when the defense knows they're going to be throwing it every single time, it's a whole lot easier to defend against a pretty high-powered offense. And the Saints, of course, are not a very high-powered offense. But yeah, if you can run the football, then it could be a lot better of an outcome for them. And offensive line needs to be a lot better, has some bigger holes out there for the Saints running backs to do their thing. And Alvin Kamara is out of this game. He will not play due to an ankle injury, so that's a big loss there. So Devin Neal and Kendra Miller, I'm pretty sure Kendra Miller will be the number one running back in this game coming in, and then Devin Neal will be the number 2. And they'll mix and match with those guys, and maybe mix some Taysom Hill every now and then to run the football as well. But whatever it takes, Kellen Moore needs to do a good job of getting some schemes out there to get the running game going, because if they get the running game going, then they have a better chance of moving the football. And Tyler Shough needs to play a lot better, and it's something I've been saying for a while. I thought he's played pretty well the first couple of weeks he's been in there. The first 2-3 weeks he was more of a game manager, but against the Panthers, you saw they opened up the playbook a little bit for him, and he's starting to have more confidence as a passer. And I get it, he didn't play the best against the Falcons, but he still threw for 240 yards. You know, the guy can spin it. He can throw the football, so he has the ability, but it's just it comes to execution. As I said in the Falcons game, he was not able to contribute in the red zone, and in this game, you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to contribute in the red zone on the road against a good Dolphins defense. Is really starting to play better. Their defensive line is really starting to pick things up. They played a lot better last couple of weeks. Bradley Chubb is a good guy, good defender in there. Although they traded a couple of guys, but they still have some pretty good players on that defense that can make some damage if you don't do your thing. So Tyler Shough needs to be ready, and he needs to be able to get the football quick and deliver in the red zone. Please deliver in the red zone. And this offense needs to get on the board early, because if you're on the board trailing in Miami and Tua starts moving the football, and Devon A. Chan starts doing his thing, running the football, it's gonna be very, very hard for the Saints to keep up in this game. So they got to run the football. Tyler Shuck's got to take care of the football and deliver in the red zone. Chris Olave's got to keep doing his thing and keep playing well as number one receiver. Jawan Johnson needs to be the security blanket and move the chains and help out Tyler Shuck and be the security blanket, moving the chains for him. And yeah, you do all that, the Saints have a good shot to win this game, and we'll see how it goes. So hopefully they can get another win, and we'll see how it goes. And I'm Alberto Lucero. This is the Saints Roundtable. It's week 13. Enjoy the game, guys. I will be back next week for week 14 and a recap of this game. And this was the Saints Roundtable, guys. I'll see you guys next week.